Welcome back to BST, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode. Today, I wanted to talk about the NBA, more specifically, the MVP race that is coming to a close this season. Just under 10 games left, something like that. I'm not exactly sure the amount of games, similar to that amount. And it's a hot one right now. Obviously in the NBA, you got the contenders are pretty well laid out. First off, I think the NBA does a really bad job with creating suspense as the season comes to an end. I know as I've been paying attention to the NHL, it's a pretty competitive fight, and there is plenty of things riding on these final last 6 or 7 games for them in the NHL. But in the NBA, it's kind of just like there's so many teams that really make it, and I feel like the play-ins is kind of just like a foregone conclusion. So I think they would really greatly benefit from getting rid of the play-in games. It just creates kind of just like a team with a losing record should not be have a chance to even play in the playoffs. So that may be a hated take on it, but I just think it's so much more fun to watch or to pay attention to these final couple games when there's something on the line. And just right now, there doesn't really seem to be much. Of course, as a Jazz fan, the thing that's on the line is the first overall pick, which I believe the Jazz are in line to be the worst team if they just continue to lose, which they're very good at doing. But I also found out today that the first overall pick does not get the best odds necessarily to get the first overall pick if you're the worst team, which I think is stupid as well. But hopefully the Jazz just continue to lose, can win the lottery, and draft the future in Cooper Flagg, who will be taking on Houston, I believe, in the Final Four coming up, which we will do an episode of that once that comes this weekend. I believe it's on, and we'll see who's crowned the national champion. I got Florida, so we'll see what happens there. But let's get back on topic. The NBA. Probably the most contentious topic in the NBA right now is the MVP race, obviously. It's between two guys at this point, Jokic, the Joker, and SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're both wonderful players. So just start out with that. They both deserve this. If you could split an MVP, this could be a year where you honestly could split an MVP. I don't think that's ever happened in the NBA. Maybe. I'm not exactly sure on that. I'm not a huge fan of splitting the MVP, but both players are very deserving. But let's just start with Jokic here. So this year, he's played 65 games. He's averaging 29 points per game, nearly 13 boards, and 10 assists. So he's averaging a triple-double, which is outstanding. I believe he leads all of the NBA in triple-doubles with like 29 or something. And the next 3 combined are at 26. So he's truly dominant in that category. Just something we've never really seen from the center position. His shooting splits 57% from the field, 41% from 3, and 80% from free throw. Those are also just insane. To be a 7-footer like that and shoot 41% from 3 is pretty outstanding. Like I said, I mean, Jokic is just unbelievable. I've had conversations with some of my buddies, and it's like, I mean, Jokic is nearing one of the greatest offensive players of all time at this point. He can do it all. He can score, he can rebound, he can assist. I mean, his playmaking is so great. He can shoot the 3. It's really crazy, the player that he's turned into, going from a second-round pick really nobody knew who he was to this guy, who is just an unbelievable player, like I've said. Right now, he's top 3 in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, which is outstanding. I don't even know how I don't even know how he can't win the MVP with that. When you're that dominant that you're top 3 and almost every important stat, just crazy. And this is where a big distinction I see between SGA and Jokic is kind of the memorable games category. I know in the NFL, this often divides players when it comes to this race for the MVP. It's like, oh, well, against this team, this quarterback threw 4 touchdowns or whatever. And I just think that should play a part in this. And the 2 memorable games that I can really think of were the 30-20-20 game versus the Suns. First time in NBA history that stat line has ever been recorded. Insane. And then just recently, a few days ago, the 60-10-10 game versus the Timberwolves, which I can't remember if this is true, but I think that might be the most points in a triple-double ever, which is just insane. So 2 pieces of history for Jokic to add to his MVP resume here. And I think for SGA, it's just something that hasn't really happened this season. Sure, he's had outstanding games. He almost has an outstanding game every night. But what I'm saying is, when you look back at the season, how many games do you remember of SGA's? And these 2 games for Jokic are super memorable. And I think give him the edge in this race. But this is where SGA kind of gains some advantage. The record. Right now, the Nuggets are 47-30, which is nothing to scoff at. That's a great record. So it's not bad by any means, but SGA has led the Thunder to a 65-12 record, which is insanely good. I do think the Thunder are just a better built team. They got better players. They're stacked. They've done a great job building this team. They really don't have any holes. So I think that definitely does play a role in this. But regardless, I don't personally think record should have a huge part in this discussion, especially because 47-30 is a great record, and Denver is going to have the same opportunity as OKC to make a run for the finals. So I don't think it's a huge part. Continuing with Jokic, voter fatigue is going to be a factor in this. He's already won three MVPs. So, I think that has to be put into consideration. I know I think that happened the year they won the finals. People thought he should have won the MVP that year, but he had already won the previous 2 seasons. So, I think that plays a big role in these conversations is the voter fatigue. People don't want to vote for him again. They want the new shiny player in SGA to win his first. But overall, I think the biggest thing you can point to in his resume here is this is the best season of his career statistically, by far. I think it's just insane. He's already won 3 MVPs, 3 MVP seasons, and this is the best so far. I don't know how you can't just give it to him based off of that. But let's move on to SGA. Obviously, the highest scoring player in the league, 32.8 points per game. Very, 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 very good. 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's a guard, so he's not going to rebound like Jokic, obviously. Makes this discussion a little bit different. Doesn't have many assists, but 6 is still a good number to have. Shea, he's the catalyst of their offense, but he's not the nucleus. Jokic is very much the get the ball to Jokic and help, let him facilitate. SGA is more of a one-on-one player. but he can score at will. So they're just different players for sure. But Jokic can score at will as well. His shooting splits 52% from the field, which is very good. 37 from three and 90% from the free throw line. And of course, the free throw line is a big, big, big contentious point in this argument. Everybody says, "Oh, I bet you SGA is at the free throw line right now," because it feels like for a large portion of his games, he's shooting free throws, scoring points off of free throws. I don't think it's as big of a thing as people make it out to be. Obviously, I think star players get calls. It's happened with every player. Jokic gets calls. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But that's just what happens when you have a star guard like this, especially. They're going to get fouled. They're going to shoot their free throws, and they're going to hit a lot of their free throws, and they're going to score a lot of points off of it. Happened with Harden for years. So he's the best scorer, obviously, but he's also a great defender. He's probably a top 2 defender on, I believe OKC's like at least a top 3 defensive team, if not the best, I believe. So he's a great defender. That's something Jokic cannot certainly say about himself. But I mean, Jokic is just a different kind of guy. Not really athletic. Kind of hard for him to play defense. But at the very least, he's a big body in the paint. SGA, he's not going to get the most steals, but I believe he's second or third. So top 3 in steals. Kind of like Jokic, though, which is what makes it kind of crazy. And there's this big whole thing about Jokic being like all the underlying stats point to Jokic being this superb defender. I think we're kind of dragging that a little bit. I don't believe Jokic is a great defender, and I think there are people out there who are trying to paint him as one. I don't think he's a great defender. His valuableness comes from the offensive side, and it certainly carries the defensive side for sure. Like we mentioned before, SGA has led the Thunder to a 65-12 record. They could certainly get to 70 wins this year, which would be outstanding. They probably have to win out, but which is very possible. I think they're undefeated in their last 7 or 6, so it's possible. But again, I don't think team record should put too much into this, especially when they're both playoff teams. And finally, the NBA is just a very political league at this point. And I think SGA will probably win it just because we don't view this award as just based purely off of statistics and who deserves it and valuableness, all those things. I think it's become way too politicized. And I think at the end of the day, SGA is going to win it. I really hope Jokic wins it. I might have to get a jersey of Jokic pretty soon because I think we're watching history here. I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, especially if he can win some more rings. He's just outstanding. And SGA is a great player as well. And, I mean, the Thunder are a very, very, very strongly built team. And there's no reason to think they won't be able to continue to win in the future. Very, very young core. So this should be interesting to see how it goes. Like I said, I think SGA will win it. I hope Jokic wins it. I think Jokic deserves it. I don't think the voters are going to say so. But I've seen on multiple sites they rank Jokic as the number 1 candidate. So I can't really think what the voters are going to think or what they're going to do. So I hope they vote for Jokic. I believe he deserves his 4th MVP. But hey, the year he didn't win the MVP, they won the finals. So overall, I like Denver. Definitely not the best that they have been in recent years, but they're still a good team. I think SGA and the Thunder could definitely win the finals this year. Very dominant. But it should be interesting to see how this finals turns out. We'll make a video for both the NHL and the NBA playoffs, just going over what we think will happen, our bracket predictions, kind of a recap on both seasons. So those should be fun to go over. Thank you guys so much for watching this MVP preview, prediction, overview, all those things. I think this is a fun way to end the season with these two amazing players battling it out for the most prestigious award in the NBA. So thank you guys so much for. Oh wait, one more thing. Alexander Ovechkin tied the goals record all time, 894. He needs one more to break it with like 5 games left, 4 games left, something like that. They play Sunday at 10, I believe. So if he breaks that day, come out with a video later that night, kind of just celebrating a historic career. Hopefully he can break it this season. I think he will. That would suck if he got to 894 and didn't break it. But just wanted to mention that. That happened today. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Check out TikTok. We really appreciate all the support. I want to be more consistent with videos, so I'm going to try to do that. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.